Hey, I heard you were wondering, how much money can you make as a self-storage investor? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna go over in this video. Join me. All right, gang, so here's the thing. When it comes to talking about how much money you can make as a self-storage investor, the answer is it really varies a lot. And the reason is there are a ton of different sizes and shapes of self-storage investments. You have everything from this deal right here that was my first investment. It was 5,000 square feet. It was 65 units. It only produced, I don't know, $2,000 a month when I first got it, $5,000, $6,000 a month later after I had built the property up and filled it up with tenants. And then you have huge properties out there that could produce several $100,000s a month in income versus the little piddly one that I just told you about. My first one was just a couple hundred units, just a couple $1,000s a month. But really there are two main ways that you can make money as a self-storage investor. The first one, straight up, is cash flow, right? What do I mean by this? In this example deal here that I did, you can say I made $3,000, $5,000 depending on when in the deal you're talking about. It would cash flow maybe $1,000, $1,500 a month. Really small deal. Bought that deal for $134,000. Got a bank loan on it. Put some money into making it look nicer. And the first way to make money through that was just cash flow, getting the income, getting the revenue up, and that's the first way to make money. The second way to make money is through capital gains, right? So that's when you buy the property, like I said, for $134,000. Ended up selling that deal, I think, for $350,000, over $200,000 of profit on that deal. And obviously, $200,000 in one day, one sale, was a lot more money than the couple $1,000s a month. And that's why I sold it, right? I don't really like selling properties. I mean, that's the whole philosophy behind my book, Skip to Flip, is skip flipping, don't sell properties, buy commercial properties, hang on to them for cash flow. But at a certain point, you have to realize, well, they're willing to pay me 30 years of cash flow in one day. Maybe I should sell this property and reinvest somewhere else. And that's really about the only time I'll sell. But those are the two main ways to make money. Now, let's talk about how much can you make. Obviously, in this little deal, $1,000, $2,000 a month, $200,000 of capital gains. Those are the two ways. That's kind of on the lower end of the spectrum, right? But you also have bigger deals like this one right here. This deal cash flows. I actually just have a video, I'll link it up here, on how much this deal has made so far this year. You can watch that video, but it makes over $10,000 a month of free cash flow. Really powerful, no money into that deal. And the thing about this, my capital gains on this deal so far is over $2 million. If I were wanting to go sell this property, I would make over $2 million. But honestly, even that's on the lower end of the spectrum. There are self-storage investors out there, the big companies who are doing $20, $30 million deals, who are cash flowing over $1 million a year. And the cash flow number really depends on how you're gonna finance that deal, what type of amortization schedule, if you're getting interest only or if it's an amortizing loan, how much leverage, how much equity you put in. But there really is no limit to how much capital gains you can make as a self-storage investor. I will tell you that it's a lot easier to make capital gains in self-storage than almost any other asset class. One of the main reasons that is because there's so many different ways to add value as a self-storage investor. For example, one of the best ways that you can make money is to simply take tenants from below market rates to market rates. So this costs you absolutely nothing, because all you're doing is you're taking tenants who have a unit that other facilities are renting for $100 a month, and they're paying you $70 a month because the prior owner is what we'll call a mom and pop, somebody who wasn't really business savvy, bought the facility for the retirement, didn't really know how to keep up with it and run the facility properly. And what you could do is you could come in, buy that facility from them, based on the current financials at the $70 a month rent, and then you can go in and you can raise that from $70 to $100. 28 minus 120, 108 a year. That's exactly what I did on this deal that I bought for $3 million and put no money down. It's worth over $5 million today. It didn't cost me any money. I didn't have to spend any capital improvements in order to have that capital gain, right? When you're talking about how much money can you make as a self-storage investor, it's really dependent on two things, okay? The first thing is, what is the size of the property? I personally won't look at any storage facility under 20,000 square feet. A lot of people want to say, how many units should I be looking at? Units is the wrong way to look at it, because one unit could be a 5 by 5, right? That's 5 feet deep by 5 feet wide. To get the square footage of that, it'd be 5 times 5 would be 25 square feet, versus I have other facilities where they have 10 by 20, 10 by 25. I think I have some 15 by 25s. So these units could be 200, 300, 400, 500 square feet in a single unit. Well, how many 5 by 5 units fit inside of a 500 square foot, right? It's a lot. It's a lot of units. So looking at units is not the correct way to measure how much money you can make in a self-storage facility. The correct way to measure it is how many square feet does a facility have. And I won't look below 20,000 square feet because generally I think that self-storage is going to rent around $1 a square foot. But if you're looking at 20,000 square feet, around $1 per square foot, that's around $20,000 a month of income that a self-storage facility needs to produce really to even be viable, in my opinion, because you're going to have costs like internet, power, customer service, facility labor, repairs, maintenance, software, payment processing. You're going to have all those costs, and whether you have a 5,065 unit facility like I talked about earlier, the first one I did, you're still going to incur all of those costs. It costs the same amount of labor effectively to run a 65 unit square foot facility as it does to run a 200 unit square foot facility. That's because there's just not a lot of extra work that comes along with those extra units. And that's the beautiful thing about self-storage is you're gonna have to pay somebody just to go out there and check on the property in general. And whether they're checking on 65 units or whether they're checking on 200 units doesn't add that much time and additional energy. So your labor cost is gonna be about the same. Your power cost is gonna be about the same because your power runs a couple of lights, as long as it's not a climate controlled facility. It runs a couple of lights, it runs your gate system, and that's really about it. It may run your Wi-Fi router. If you have power inside of your units, maybe there's some marginal cost, but most self-storage doesn't have power inside of your units. And so for that reason, the base cost of running a self-storage facility is pretty much the same, whether you have, a tiny, tiny facility, a couple thousand square feet up to 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 square feet. Where you really want to play is in the 40,000 square feet plus. That's whenever you can make $40,000 a month in revenue or more. And then what we're looking at is whenever we do, say, a 3 or a 5% revenue increase on 40,000 square foot, $40,000 a month, you'd rather have a 5% increase on $40,000 than you would a 5% increase on $3,000, because the net overall difference is going to mean more cash flow in your pocket. Because once you're running a facility, if you can raise your rents, all of that money drops to the bottom line and drops into your pocket, right? So if you're doing a 40,000 square foot facility and you raise the rent 5% a year on average, let's do the math. We're going to do $40,000, right, times 5%, that's $2,000 a month extra cash flow. That's also a year. I mean, that's $24,000. But the powerful thing, and the second way we make money is capital gains. If we were to do $40,000 a month times an extra 5%, be $24,000 a year, that's also going to affect the value of our property. So we take the $24,000 and let's say we put it on a 7 cap. So take 24,000, divide it by 0.07, and that's going to give us $342,000 of capital gains just by raising that revenue a little bit. So the more square footage and the more revenue you own, the more powerful those rental increases, the more power you're going to have through that. Now, the second determining factor to how much money you can make as a self-storage owner is the market that you're in. So remember earlier I said, on average, a self-storage facility is going to make you $1 a square foot. Well, that may be true in, let's say, Atlanta, right, where I live. Maybe true in Atlanta that, a 10 by 10 with 100 square feet is renting for $100 a month. Well, maybe we go down to Miami, downtown Miami. That same 10 by 10 space, because there's a higher demand there, we could be renting for $1.50 a square foot. So that'd be $150 a month. Same size product, but the rental rates in the market is going to be impacting how much money we could make. So if we were to take the same 40,000 square feet and instead of renting it at $1 a square foot, we rent it at $1 a half, that'd be $60,000 a month. And now if you have a 5% rental rate increase across your facility, how much does that come out to? $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year of extra cash flow. And on a 7 cap, be $514,000 of additional value of additional capital gain. So being a self-storage owner can be extremely lucrative. It can be extremely profitable. It can also cost you money, and you can be buying facilities with negative cash flow that lose money if you're paying too much in acquisition of the deal. A lot of your money is made on the buy. And if you guys want to know how to analyze self-storage investments to make sure you're going in and buying at a good price, I'll link a video right here at the top right of the screen where you can go and you can watch me analyze a deal that's for sale on the market. I'll tell you exactly how to analyze it. I'll give you the tools to analyze it. I'll give you the checklist to analyze it. And what I'll also do is I'll show you guys why it's overpriced and how to figure out the exact price you should pay for it. But anyways, I hope this was a valuable video for you guys to learn exactly how much you can make as a self-storage owner. Again, don't go below that minimum 20,000 square foot. It's just not worth it, okay? Otherwise, you're probably saying and reasoning and having this logic with yourself right now of, oh, well, I don't need a manager because I can do it myself, right? But what happens when you break your leg? Or what happens whenever you have to move for whatever reason? You're gonna have to pay somebody. You're gonna say, well, I'm not gonna pay a property management company. Well, what happens when something happens to you or what happens to the guy who's managing it now? You know, oh, I got this tenant in unit 112 and I give him free rent and, you know, he cuts the grass and he checks the facility and cleans up the trash and whatever. What happens when he dies? What happens when he gets hit by a bus, right? I hate to be morbid about it, but the truth is even if you can get those benefits on the smaller facilities, you have to make sure your investment can afford to pay market rate expenses for labor and management, which is really a minimum of $1,000 a month. I'll reference all that in the other video that I just talked to you about. So if you enjoyed this content, subscribe, hit that like button. Oh, and again, if you wanted to check out that video on how I bought that $3 million property with a $2 million capital gains for $0 out of my own pocket, click this video right here. I'll show you exactly how I did it.